The city of St. John's. It is known for its unique character and historic buildings. But there is another site in the city. To some, it's a menace, and to others, it's art. Graffiti. Bright splotches of paint on walls, sidewalks, pretty much anywhere. Some of it is just vandalism, the work of people who only want to touch the public nerve. But some graffiti is different. There are artists in St. John's who use graffiti in colorful, eye-catching ways. They see it as art, no matter what authorities think. This is Ben. He grew up in the German city of Dortmund. He has been in Newfoundland for 5 years and is a student at Memorial University. Ben, also known as Eurotrash, is a graffiti artist. Many people dismiss his work as ugly and destructive, but Ben disagrees. The city has rules against graffiti, and Ben is not afraid to challenge them. Because their work is illegal, the graffiti community is a very secretive society. Ben would like to see its more refined elements come to light. Ben lives in St. Philip's, a small community outside St. John's. Even though Ben calls himself a graffiti artist, he isn't sure how much of his work is real art.
I'm still questioning what exactly graffiti is, because graffiti is an art. If you take it to the extent people have exhibitions in museums, people make a lot of money with it. However, graffiti always for somebody to have graffiti art in a museum or an exhibition or an auction, there's people who are selling stuff in the London in the big auction house. There's so much footwork you gotta put in illegally, which can't really be considered art because it entails basically property damage, unless you do it on abandoned buildings that are half torn down anyways or ruins. But graffiti as an art form for me is I'm still fighting with myself if it is actually because I think it's always in the eye of the beholder as well. What exactly it is, and if I might paint something that you see as art, but for me when I painted it was vandalism.
Ben has a collection of photos of his work back in Germany.
As you can see, the artwork varies a lot from person to person, so there's no given rules about what to paint or how to paint it. So you can have something like this, which is equally as good or is different, and some people like this more than, say, something like this, which is everything has its own complications, and for everything you need a certain set of skills, because for some people something like this is more complicated than something like this simply for the color scheme, because color schemes are something that you have to work on, and where this has a little bit more intricate style, somebody might have troubles with that instead of with the color scheme. This is one of my works. Obviously there's a little bit more to it, but the significance for this is when I painted, everything went fine, but the next day when I went to take this picture, I had to run out of the tunnel because the subway was coming. In order to save my camera, I had to jump a rail and I broke my wrist.
Like any conventional artist, Ben has a variety of tools and paint that he uses for his graffiti.
I have some imported paints. This is Montana Gold, which is high quality, it's low pressure, and it's imported from Germany. So good paint. This is also good paint. These are all made for graffiti. So this is paint made in Australia, and it's low pressure. It's really good coverage. So something you always look for is coverage and pressures, depending on what you're doing. And another important thing for us is caps. Caps is probably the biggest thing that enables you as a graffiti artist to actually paint, because with a cap you can size the output of your paint. This is some of the stuff that I normally carry, that I carry with me when I go painting. It's for me basically my essentials, and for me one of the biggest things is a bag to obviously carry my paint in, even though I put it in my backpack. Another thing is people ask me why I take this. This is important for me. It's because even though I wear gloves, or I have gloves, you always get that little spot on your wrist where you don't have your sleeve covering you and you don't have your glove covering you anymore because it just constantly slides. So spray deodorant dissolves spray paint, and so I spray that stuff on my wrist and wipe it off. Not only keeps the cops away, but it also smells good. Tools. basically like a Leatherman, whatever, works well. If like sometimes the caps break, you can pull out the little nib that's stuck in the can. You can cut a wire fence if you need to, or just this general thing to have. I find it's very good to have. Instead of a ski mask, we like to carry spare t-shirts because it helps to conceal your identity, and cops don't really ask questions. And there's a certain way to tie around your face to conceal your identity. So in this case,
why would artists like Ben want to keep their identities secret? It became clear when we spoke with the mayor of St. John's, Dennis O'Keefe.
I feel graffiti is a travesty, really. It's an invasion of privacy. Most of the graffiti that you see around the city takes place either on public property, which is owned and operated by the city or the province or the federal government, or on private property. And for anybody to deface in any way somebody else's property is an offence. And on top of that, it's a travesty as far as I'm concerned. Certainly not art.
Dave Hopley owns a clothing store on Water Street. Unlike many business owners, he allows graffiti on the outside of his building.
Well, it was already being used even before we got the building. It was a vacant building for a couple of years, and because it's on an alley and there had been other graffiti around, we just thought whenever we encountered somebody outside painting, we thought that we would just let them know that it was okay, and just to ask for permission first, and so we get a sense of what they're doing. And it's not a really high traffic area. My partner and I liked the idea of supporting local art, in other forms as well. Graffiti is a part of the local art scene, so we thought we'd allow it on our side of our building.
Would you ever consider setting aside several locations for artists to decorate as a means of stemming the flow of graffiti?
Not for artists to graffiti, but if we were approached by artists who were truly artists, and I guess maybe that will offend some of those who graffiti things around town, because I guess perceptually they feel that they are artists, and I respect how they feel.
Ben feels so strongly about graffiti that he has risked his life for it. One of several close calls was on the train tracks in Germany.
So you're standing at a wall, you're painting at the track side, like at train tracks, and there's signals on the train tracks. You can always pay attention. You're like, okay, it's yellow or it's red. There's no train coming. And at some point during the night when you're doing something like that, you think somebody else is paying attention, and then they think you're paying attention. So all of a sudden nobody's paying attention, and you just hear this high-pitched noise, and you're like, what is that? And you turn around, and the light is green. And then you turn around the other way, and all you see is the headlights coming at you, and you have basically wall right here, first track right here, and you have that much space to just lie down and hope nothing sticks off the train, and the train goes past. Is it worth the risk? Risking my life for something that could be eradicated the next day by somebody else or by the city, I'm not 100% sure. At the point when I was doing it, for me, I felt like I didn't have anything else to lose. Like, for me, that's what it entailed, like being a graffiti artist. That basically defines like that. When you're a graffiti artist, situations like that define you as being persistent and actually putting your heart and soul into it.
Our viewpoint here at City Hall, and I think for the most part people who live in and around the city and maybe the province, would be that graffiti is not art. Therefore, we would not be interested in identifying 2 or 3 or 4 walls that could be graffitied. You can't pursue graffiti or try to eliminate it and at the same time encourage it. Would we encourage walls for artistic endeavour? Yep, with a heart and a half.
In the end, graffiti is too important to Ben for him to give it up.
For me, like at first when I was getting into graffiti, I didn't know what I was getting into, and all of a sudden I realized it has taken over so much of my personal life and like my life in general. Without graffiti, I wouldn't be the person who I am. It just ties me in, like I'm bound in it now, basically. It's something like it has been with me for a very long time, and therefore it is part of me. It just, at the beginning I didn't know what I was getting into, and now I'm into it and I love it. So it's like, for me, it's a big part of my life. There's no single thing that I could say this draws me to graffiti. It's just the whole thing, the whole life experience I had with it.
Graffiti is clearly a dangerous and still illegal form of art. Ben and his friends take pains to keep their identities secret, but only because they want to keep contributing to the artistic community here in St. John's. Graffiti, practiced by people like Ben, is more than just paint sprayed on a wall. Given the right inspiration, it can have real meaning and truly beautify a city like St. John's.